Welcome back to MMA Al Dente. I'm here to talk about Dustin Jacoby versus Kennedy Nzechukwu. Kennedy is 12-3, 31 years old, and he's got 2 inches of height and 7 inches of reach over 35-year-old Jacoby, who is 18-7-1. Jacoby's the kickboxer, as he is in most fights, and he's got an advantage over most guys there. Although, in his last fight against Azamat Murzakanov, he did not. Murzakonov's a good striker himself, and he hits really fucking hard. And he was able to bust Jacoby up and hurt him on multiple occasions, to the point where Jacoby was actually trying to out-wrestle him in the end. And before that, he lost a decision to Khalil Roundtree. That was the one that snapped his winning streak and his resurgence, so to speak. And that was also a really close decision. I thought they got that one wrong, to be honest. But Khalil, he's an excellent kickboxer as well, or Muay Thai guy if you want to get specific. And it was a close enough fight. Jacoby's lost 7 times. Those 2 decisions, and then he also lost decisions to a few other guys, Clifford Starks and whoever the fuck else. He was finished once via strikes. That was King Mo Lawal. King Mo, world champion in his day. And he was just too much for him. Just a world-class wrestler, and got him out of there. And the 2 submissions come to John Salter and Chris Camozzi. Excellent fighters, UFC-level fighters, and, really good submission artists, especially Salter. Salter rear naked choked him, that's his thing, and Chris Camozzi guillotined him. But Jacoby, again, aside from those last 2 decision fights, his resurgence in the UFC, his second stint, has been phenomenal. He's beaten some really good fighters, won most of them by decision, and even had a draw with Iwan Kutalaba. But he also knocked out Darren Stewart, Justin Ledet, and Daun Jung, most impressively, who, ironically, is the one guy to knock out Kennedy Nzechukwu. Jacoby, he's definitely the better kickboxer than Kennedy Nzechukwu. If these guys are fighting on the outside, and Jacoby, and these guys are having a kickboxing battle, Jacoby winning with the jab and the lead kick and setting up a kickboxing fight, he's going to win this fight. If Kennedy Nzechukwu is able to crowd him and overwhelm him with his physicality, especially on the inside, which could be on the ground or even in the clinch, then Kennedy is certainly favored to win this fight. Kennedy's got a record of 12-3, 8 wins via knockout, 1 submission, 3 decisions. And the 1 submission comes against Devin Clark, the guillotine. And his 3 losses come 1-1-1. Daun Jung knocked him out, as I mentioned, and that was a big elbow through a really tight guard standing up, and Daun Jung just went right through it and elbowed the shit out of him. It was really one of the most underrated knockouts ever. And then he was submitted by Paul Craig, who was being dominated, as you might have guessed. Paul Craig is just a fucking... He's so deadly. If you don't knock him out, he's always dangerous, as he proved against Ankalaev. And this was a similar type of fight with a very similar result. And that's what happened. That's the one comeback loss for Kennedy Nzechukwu. But usually when there's a comeback, it's him winning, as I'll get into in a second. And then his 1 loss via decision was to Nikolai Negumereanu. Nikolai Negumereanu is a guy where if you allow the fight to become a brawl, you're probably going to lose. At least you're favored to. Because Negumereanu is tough as all fuck. He throws hard. And he thrives in a war. Meaning he keeps throwing down the stretch. So that was a close fight, but he lost that one. He has lost every which way, but his wins are just, very impressive, Kennedy. As I mentioned, he's got comebacks. Iwan Kutalaba, Danilo Marquez, and most impressively, maybe, Carlos Ulberg. He knocked all those guys out after being dominated early on. Ulberg, of course, on the feet. Iwan was crowding him early, and Danilo Marquez was out-wrestling him for 2 rounds. And Kennedy Nzechukwu showed in all those fights heart, grit, and danger down the stretch. He got the 1 guillotine, the 1 submission over Devin Clark, which shows a nice new wrinkle to his game, getting a sub like that. And also his win over Carl Roberson. It was a TKO, but it was it was a win for his ground game. Thoroughly dominated Carl Roberson and got him out of there in round 3. I do think Kennedy could win this fight, or, should win this fight if he crowds Dustin Jacoby. Because Jacoby, he's been patching up his holes, I'm sure, throughout the years, but he's still weak on the ground. And Kennedy, even though he's not the most dominant guy on the ground, certainly in the submission realm, but I think he's better there. I'm just, I'm assuming he is. That's what this all is. Just fucking guessing and assuming. But I have a much stronger guess that Dustin Jacoby is the better kickboxer. And I think this fight will be pretty close, but I'm imagining it goes Dustin Jacoby's way. I think Dustin Jacoby is able to resist the crowding of Kennedy Nzechukwu. Maybe gets crowded in the clinch, but he's able to keep the fight on the feet. Because Kennedy, even though he's not a bad wrestler, he's not the best wrestler. I don't know if he's good enough to get Dustin Jacoby down. So I'm imagining Dustin keeps it standing. And on the feet, even though it's still pretty close, and we've seen Dustin lose a kickboxing battle lately, 2 of them, I'm picking Dustin to win. I'm picking him to win, to beat Kennedy. Hopefully he slams him down low as much as up high. But I'm expecting sharper, straighter strikes from Dustin Jacoby. And that's the pick. Dustin Jacoby wins. I bet on his money line at plus 125. I don't know if he'd win by knockout or decision. So you know what that means. Submission, round 3. Arm triangle, like Bobby Green. No, I don't know, but I think I favor Dustin Jacoby in this fight. I was a little surprised to see him as the underdog. I understand he doesn't have a lot of momentum, but I don't think Kennedy Nzechukwu can duplicate either one of those performances from Azamat Murzakanov or Khalil Roundtree. Of course, there's some other earlier losses from Jacoby that he could duplicate, but again, I'm picking Dustin Jacoby here. I think he regains his momentum, and he wins an outside kickboxing battle, largely against Kennedy Nzechukwu. Like, share, subscribe, all that horse shit, and check out my other videos.